Well, hello again. Welcome to today's devotional. I hope you're staying healthy and enjoying this day that the Lord has made. Today I want to talk about an issue that used to be rather uncommon, but has become quite commonplace in our day, and that is gambling. Now, some people say that gambling is just entertainment, like fishing or going to a movie or a baseball game. But the big difference is, when you win in gambling, you do so at other people's expense. Now, you may be thinking, so what? Those people knew the risks they were taking. Some people lose, some people win. Cum si, cum sa. But that is exactly the wrong attitude to have. That's the attitude of the world, not of our Savior. Let's look at Philippians 2, 3 and 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Everyone should look not to his own interests, but rather to the interests of others. Think about that first part. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit. If we are honest with ourselves, much of what we do is not done out of love for others, but out of our own desires to advance or promote ourselves. Note that Paul correctly rebukes selfish ambition. This is because there is a good ambition to glorify God and serve Him with everything we have. But again, if we're honest with ourselves, that happens very rarely. The second part of this admonition is conceit, which is thinking too highly of yourself, having an excessive self-interest and self-preoccupation. The word used here literally means empty glory. If you live with the idea that you are the most important thing, you are not living in God's will. Then Paul goes on to say, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Other translations say lowliness of mind rather than humility, but I think we all know what this means. It means we are to have an attitude about ourselves that is completely contradictory to that of the world. The ancient Greeks considered humility to be a fault, not a virtue. The word in the original Greek had the meaning of groveling or being abject. Even today, you would not find humility very high on a list of traits that are admired by men or women. The world says you have to look out for number one. Spurgeon says about this verse, the apostle knew that to create concord, that is unity, you need first to beget lowliness of mind. Men do not quarrel when their ambitions have come to an end. The idea that we should consider others as more important than ourselves rebukes the entire concept that the world has of self-esteem. Nowhere does the Bible teach that we should have an attitude of confident superiority in every situation, nor does it teach that such an idea is the foundation of a healthy human personality. Low self-esteem, in some, is justified based on reality. When we are in rebellion to God, it is fitting for us to have low self-esteem. And the really cool thing about considering others as more important than ourselves, well, if I consider you more important than me, and you consider me more important than you, then everyone is looked up to, and no one is looked down upon. Next, Paul says that we should not look to our own interests, but rather to the interests of others. This idea follows from the previous one. If we truly consider others as more important than ourselves, then we will naturally look out for their interests rather than our own. And this is where gambling falls short. Is it in others' best interests that we should take money they have lost? Remember, every time you win, others had to lose. Sometimes many others. Now, it is not wrong to look out for our own interests, but when we are exclusively looking out for our own interests, others will suffer. Gambling really comes down to self-gratification. The thrill that you could hit the jackpot at any time. Plus, if you win, you don't have to look at all those other losers. You may be thinking, yeah, but if I win, I could do so much for my church or God's kingdom. But as good stewards, our focus should be on stewarding the money we have right now, not on dreams of hitting it big. Is gambling good for society? That is a lie straight from the pit of hell. Compare it to investing. If you invest in a company that makes, say, medical technology, you're putting your money into something that has real value, intrinsic value. Jobs are created. You receive returns on your investment. Patients benefit from the new technology. In gambling, if you hit the jackpot, you win and everyone else loses. What about the argument that money from lotteries goes into schools? Back to the example we mentioned about the medical manufacturer. They produce products that have intrinsic value. There is no intrinsic value in taking money that people lost and making ourselves feel better by putting it into education. Remember, we are called to be good stewards of what God has given us, and we are called to consider others and their interests before us and our interests. Have a blessed day, and may God richly bless you. Thanks and goodbye.